Good afternoon. Thank you so much for coming to the Electronic Thesis and Dissertation Workshop. My name is Ruth Barr, and I'm the Associate Dean for the Office of Graduate Studies, and I'm here to help you graduate. How about that? I want to see that happen for you. So we do one of these every semester. Please know that it is recorded, so you can see it again on our website. We have a magnificent website full of more information than you care to know on our www.grad.usf.edu. That's the grad school webpage, and then you go to ETD. On the right-hand side, you can see there's a big place for you to click and to go there. So hopefully you'll use that information. So what I'm going to try to do today is give you some tips on how to finish up and to format. I'm hoping that most of you are at least a semester before you graduate. I always have a bunch of people who, this is the semester you're graduating. Okay, that's good. Listen very, very, very carefully. And we're going to go ahead and get started. Okay. And it just flipped to my calendar instead. Okay, there we go. So I just mentioned this. So there's your resource center, the ETD Resource Center. Anything you want to know is right there, okay? And so I'm going to try to pick out some of the common foibles that people make when they're going through this process. So there you go. There's the Resource Center website. And there's the formatting requirements. Let me just give you a few tips, okay? Here's a few tips for formatting requirements. A couple of things. Number one, no particular section should take you more than 30 or 45 minutes to figure out how to format, okay? If you're spending longer than that, shoot us an email. Okay, right over to the grad office, the ETD office. We will help you with that. Okay, so for instance, I'm going to give a few tips. Number one, end every chapter with a page break. If you're using Word, you go up to the top, you hit insert, and page break will appear on there. Put a page break. Why do you want to do that? Because if you make changes in chapter 1 after you have chapter 2 perfectly formatted, it's going to mess up the formatting in chapter 2. You put a page break after chapter 1, chapter 2 stays perfect. So please use page breaks at the end of any place that you're getting ready to do something else. So at the end of chapters, at the end of your front pages, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. That's a great tip. Another tip, do not use your space bar. Oh, 5 spaces. 5 space bar. No. Use tab. We can help you put some tabs in there so that it's all even. When you do the space bar, it's just difficult to fix on the long run. Another thing is the period is not your friend, okay? When you're doing the table of content, do not put the words and then period. Well, it's dots. Yeah. There's something called leader dots. We will be very happy to show you how to do it. Super simple. It's in the tabs. But if you don't know how to do it, we're happy to help you do it. So just don't do a bunch of periods. That is so hard to fix at the end. We basically have to go through and just kind of erase them on a line-by-line basis. So you don't want to do that. Another tip, the Microsoft Office table of contents thing doesn't work. Don't use it. It'll cause you more trouble than not. Okay, in terms of your reference lists, use a hanging indent. We can show you how to format that. So these are reasons why you might want to come to a workshop that we can show you some of that. Somebody's asking about verification of attendance. You don't need it. You don't need any verification. I got your names right here on the list, so we're all good. Thanks for asking. That's a great question. If you need something for your faculty member, let us know and we'll shoot them an email. Okay, so the other thing, please do not use section breaks if you don't know what you're doing with them. They are very hard for us to fix on the other end. They disappear. I don't know. I have a hard time getting rid of section breaks when you put them in there. Page breaks are fine. Section breaks, if you don't know what you're doing, get some help. Where would you use section breaks? Well, section breaks is how you can get the front pages with little Roman numerals and the rest of your text with Arabic numerals, okay? And we can help you put those section breaks in there. But there's a cheater's way to do it, okay? So all you have to do is have two files, put the front pages in the first file, put your text in the rest of the file, number them appropriately, and then go into Adobe DC and merge them. You can send them to us. We have that capability to say, could you merge these two files for me? And we'll do it. You can do it. Adobe DC is one of the student issued software on the IT website. So that's the way to do it. Okay, some questions. Yes, you may use LaTeX for formatting. The bad news is there's nobody on campus that can really help you with that. So you still need to do it. And attendance, if you need something, that's fine. We do not need to document your attendance. We have your name already in the chat. All right, so all of those are just excellent tips. Those are the most common mistakes made. We're happy to help you. The bottom line is people feel like we have lots of rules. We don't. Here's the rule. There's one rule. Whatever you do, do it consistently. Whatever you do it consistently. Okay, so that's what I'm saying. So if you're using APA 7, and I know that the titles have moved, that's fine. Use APA 7. If you want to use Chicago style or whatever, use whatever. We're just asking that you pick a style and you do it consistently. Okay, that's what we're looking for in your main text. On the front pages, we do have some requirements, and we're happy to help you. We have a call out for you to send that material to us, and we'd be happy to look it over and give you some feedback, and we'll talk more about that in a minute. So let's talk about some of the resources that are already out there on our website, okay? So as we've pulled up here, you can see we've pulled up section-specific suggestions. So the first one is the title page. What I love about what we've done on the workshop, we have a description, a verbal description, and then at the top you can see examples and you can click. So if you have a single degree, click on that one and it'll give you an example of a page that's formatted exactly the way that you want. We need it formatted. If you have a concentration, Masters of Public Health with a concentration in maternal and child health, okay? It shows you how to do that, okay? So please look at them. They have a visual depiction and we have a verbal depiction. And so it shows you exactly what we're looking for and you can do it. The biggest question that I typically get here is, well, why don't you just have a template? Why don't we have a template? Well, we can't. Why can't you? Because everybody's title is a different length. Some titles take 3 lines. Other titles take 1 line. That messes up all the spacing on the page. Just here's my little tip. Most journals don't want a title longer than 15 words. So think about shortening up your title if it's that long. Some of you have 3 people on your committee. Some of you have 4 people. Some of you have 6 people. So a template's not going to work for that. So all of those reasons mean a template can't work. But if you follow the directions on that page, it should be a lot simpler. So that's what we have on the title page. As you can see, there's also examples for table of contents, list of tables, list of figures. It shows you how to do it, provides examples. And again, we do have individual sessions. So here you go. So actually, yeah, shown us an example. So there you go. There's an example, like I said. So there's a picture showing you what you would do. So we do have individual help sessions. You can sign up for one online. We're using bookings, and so you can do that, and we'll be happy to help you. And we always respond to emails, so you just send them to us. All right, the submission deadlines. Okay, so let's look at what the submission deadlines are for the next 3 semesters. Okay, they're on the website, but here we go. So if you want to graduate in spring 2021, you need to turn in your master's thesis by March 19th. Dissertations need to be turned in by April 2nd. Okay, you got to remember, think about this. When do you think the bulk of the people submit their thesis or dissertation? Okay, you guessed it. March 19th and April 2nd. To date, we've only had, I'm guessing, I haven't talked to Ashley lately, about 10 to 12 submissions. She's shaking her head. So 10 to 12 submissions. We're going to expect close to 220. 12 are submitted today. What's going to happen on March 19th is we're going to get about 85. Okay, they all come in at once, and so you have to be very patient with us. So the sooner you can get it in, the better. April 2nd, it's the same way. We're going to get another 85 to 100 on that day. So it does really slow down the processing. So the processing in April gets pretty slow. In fact, it may take us longer than 8 to 10 business days to get back to you because they're all there. What you want to do is to help us by, trying to follow the directions as best you can, getting the help beforehand, but please don't ask us to review it before you submit it. Okay, so you're all done. Can you just look it over and make sure it's right? I'm telling you right now, absolutely, we're going to find 1 or 2 things we want you to fix. If you think you're done, go ahead and submit it. It'll be easy for us to review, and if there's anything that we want you to change, we'll send it back, and it'll be easy for you to finish. But anyway, so you can see the deadlines. I know somebody said, well, there'll be another workshop. We have at least 1, if not 2 workshops every semester. So the summer one will probably be in June, late May, early June, something like that. We haven't set it yet. We just wait to see what my schedule looks like. So let's talk about, in terms of the submission, please try to get it in on time. If you're not going to, notify us, please. Okay, we have to know. We have to get all of them done for you to graduate. That's a good question. No, you cannot submit your dissertation prior to us prior to your defense. We'll get to that as we go along. All right, so please adhere to those deadlines. I had somebody turn in their dissertation for fall on January 2nd for the first time. We had absolutely no idea that this person was thinking about submitting, and we can't process it. The semester's over. Once the semester ends, it's a done deal. And we can only process what we can process within the semester. So please look to the deadlines. So what are some of the registration requirements? This is where most people make their errors, okay? So please, there's a application quick links thing on there that tells you what you have to apply for. You have to do several registrations. First, you need to register for at least 2 hours of thesis or dissertation during the semester you want to graduate. You have to be an active student to graduate. Define active, a minimum of 2 credits. So I cannot change your grade if you're not registered. What do I mean by me changing your grade? If you're registered in thesis or dissertation, you have a Z grade. Every semester you register for that, you get a Z, okay? What does Z mean? It means continuing. It means I didn't finish it, okay, that semester. In the last semester, my office, I'm the only one that can change that Z grade. The only way to get rid of the Z grade in the final semester is to submit your thesis or dissertation and have it approved by our office. then I send a list over to the registrar who turns the last Z into an S. We don't change the other ones because you didn't finish it in those semesters. The Z has no impact on your GPA and it doesn't affect your transcript in any way. What matters is an S in the last semester, okay? So you got to be registered for 2 hours. Then, excuse me, you need to complete the ETD registration process. So you have to register for ETD. That tells me I'm going to submit my thesis or dissertation this semester. It checks to see that you're registered for 2 credits so that I can make sure you do graduate. And this is how you get your name into the commencement program. If you do not register for the ETD process, your name will not appear in the commencement program. And furthermore, if you do not register by the deadline, the drop dead date is, was it April 2nd? Yeah, April 2nd. That is the drop dead date. You submit it at 9 p.m. on April 2nd, not in the commencement program. It's due by 5 p.m. that day. What happens is I take that list, I prepare the commencement program, and it goes to the printer. I cannot get you in that semester. It has to wait till the next semester for me to put your name in the program. You can graduate, we can get you graduated, but I can't get you in the program. And unfortunately, right now, the way they're doing commencement, that list is the list they use for commencement. So if you do not submit by the ETD deadline, you will not have your name called at commencement and you will not have your name in the commencement program. That's the only way that we know. So please, and I'm stressing this, this is the #1 mistake people make. Please register for ETD. Go home tonight and register for ETD. Don't wait till the last minute. Go ahead and do it tonight. The registration's good all semester. Do registration as soon as possible. You don't have to be ready to submit your thesis or dissertation. Oh, but what if I don't finish this semester? No harm, no foul. If you don't finish this semester, the ETD registration shuts down. It opens up new next semester. When you register again for 2 credits of thesis and dissertation, you have to register again for ETD, okay? So please do that, okay? Please register for ETD. It gives me the names of your committee members. It tells me the title of your dissertation or thesis. That's how I know what it is. There's no other way for me to know that information in time for the commencement program. The next thing you have to do is apply for graduation, and that deadline was probably right about now. I don't know what it is. Your department. Your department knows that, so definitely check with your department. You have to apply to graduate. That tells the registrar's office, hey, I want to graduate. It makes sure that you have all the credits that you need so that they can graduate you at the end of the semester. So please make sure you apply to graduate. So we've talked about the ETD process registration. And then this 4th one, we're going to leave it there for right now. But I don't think they're doing a separate commencement registration. They are using the ETD registration as far as I know this semester. Once we get back to in-person, yes, we will go back to the commencement registration. So somebody says, what does it mean to have your name in the commencement program? Every time there's a commencement, so a graduation exercise, there is a program, a booklet. And in that booklet is the name of every person who's graduating that semester. If you want your name in that paper booklet, you gotta register for ETD before the deadline. There's nothing I can do after that deadline passes. All I can do is put you in the next semester's commencement program. Somebody says a survey doesn't allow for 2 masters. Yes, it does. It should allow for at least 3 degrees. So your first degree, don't put the PhD. Do not put PhD USF in there. I already know that. Everybody knows that. You haven't gotten that yet. But many people have put in 2 masters. If you're having problems, let us know. But there's enough for at least 3 degrees. If you're graduating in summer 21, please do not register now. It closes at the end of every semester. I don't understand that one. Is requesting extension beyond 10 semesters something we need to do with our specific program? Time limits on degrees, 5 years for a master's, 7 years for a PhD. That's a 12-month period. So I'm not quite sure what that question's talking about, but if you exceed 5 years for a master's and 7 years for a PhD, then you do need to file a time limit extension with your program. Okay, did I miss anything else on that page? I don't think so. Yeah. All right, so we've got a new thing that we're trying, this early submission. Okay, and why are we doing this? Well, since all we're looking for is consistency in the main body of the text, the largest number of errors are in the initial pages. And what am I talking about? The table of contents, the acknowledgments, the list of figures, the title page, the list of graphs, whatever. I can't think of the name. Sorry. So all of that front matter is what we're calling it, the initial pages. I would urge you to do that this weekend if you're graduating this semester. Go ahead and put it in. Let us look at it. We'll make some suggestions. Well, I don't know all of the subheadings. I don't care. Put Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse, Mickey Mouse. I don't care what you put on it. We want to see the format. You're not linked to it. What we're trying to help you do is to get those pages started. If you're in your last semester and you haven't started formatting, yikes, stripes, that's going to be difficult. Okay, so you need to think about the formatting now and get started on it. So what we ask you to do is to turn in those pages. You can copy a page from a book. You can do whatever you want to do. I'm sorry, I have this weird thing on my computer that pops that brown thing. I don't know what it is. So I'm trying to move it. Yeah, it's still there. It's driving me crazy. I have a new computer. So anyway, please let us look at this. So again, we want you to register online early for ETD and then send us this, the title page. Put the rough title. You're not wed to that title. If you want to change it, fine. What we're looking at is it's centered. And is it so many spaces above or below this? That's what we're looking at, okay? The acknowledgments, dedication is optional. Just cut and paste anything. The quick brown fox jumped over the fence. I don't care. Put that down there. We just want to see how you're formatting it. Same for the table of contents. If you just kind of have a feel for the levels of heading, we can help you do that. The cool thing is that we can teach you how to do the leader dots. And so that makes your page numbers go straight down the side of the page. Totally straight. So we want to help you with that. Okay. So what you do is you submit this as a single PDF. So just quickly sit down and try to format some stuff. We'll give you some suggestions and you're going to submit it to the initial pages Microsoft form. Now these slides will be available right after the presentation so that you can get to them. These are all clickable links and it's on our website as well. So what happens is you turn it in and you usually get some feedback within 3 to 5 business days. And we'll give you some feedback. You don't turn it back into us. You know, we're going to see it again when you turn in your final version of your thesis or dissertation. But do turn it in. It helps us. That's where the most of the questions come in. Okay, so somebody says if they're graduating in fall but have a defense in summer, shall I be registered for the summer? Yikes. That's such a hard question to answer because technically you're not supposed to have a defense if you're not registered, technically. I'll let your department decide, but you have to be registered in the semester in which you graduate. So I have no way of checking whether you're registered in the summer. So you can submit the completion form in fall or whatever. So technically, yes, you're supposed to be registered. I know that programs don't do it. That's all I can. That's the only way I can answer that. You're going to have to talk to your major professor because basically you're asking them to work for free in the summer, which many of them are happy to do, which is, I just can't even answer that question. I'm so sorry. That's the best answer I could get. Talk with your major professor, but you have to be registered in the semester in which you submit it. If our degree has an option to graduate with a published article rather than the full thesis, do we still have to submit a thesis through this process? Absolutely. Just the formatting needs to, you can explain the formatting to us. It can look like the article, okay? You know, break it up into some chapters, just reformat it, but yes, you have to. Okay. It's usually the optional pages deadline in the summer is usually 3 weeks in or something like that. It goes for several weeks, so. All right, so let's talk about the submission requirements. Okay, so that's the next slide. Poor Ashley's answering and doing this for me. Okay, so what you have to do before you submit your ETD, electronic thesis and dissertation, before you submit, you do not submit anything to our office other than these initial pages that isn't the final complete version. Has to be what your committee approved, the committee has signed off on it. This is the end. This is the last thing. Okay, so what you have to do, make sure you have your certificate of approval typed up before the defense. Okay, the reason why I say that, and this is on our website, you can find the certificate of approval on our website, or your major professor may have one. What you want to fill it out before you go to the defense. I know we're all virtual right this minute. So usually when you go into a defense, that's the only time all those people are sitting in the same place at the same time. You know where they are. You know how hard it is to get signatures from faculty. So I suggest taking it to your defense. Some committees, talk to your major professor about this. Some committees will say, yeah, I'll sign it today. And but the major professor won't sign it until all of the corrections are made. That's only a suggestion that I have just to help you get faculty to sign it. You can do DocuSign and send it through DocuSign to get the signatures at this point in time. So we just need that. It needs to be on the certificate of approval. We do save this and put it into your permanent record. Okay, so you have to, you bring that to the meeting. You need to successfully defend your thesis or dissertation and make all of the committee recommended revisions. Please know that most colleges have a successful defense form. That's a different form than the COA. The department keeps the successful defense form and turns it into the college. I never see that. I only see the certificate of approval. The certificate of approval is after a successful defense and once you make all of the revisions. So what you're going to turn into me through our office is the certificate of approval. That tells us that you are done. And hear me, I don't know how many times I say this in the course of this workshop. Hear me, hear me, hear me. If you turn in a certificate of approval and your ETD through ProQuest, you will graduate. Did you hear me? Will graduate. It may take us a couple of days because remember we had 150 of these things come in and it takes us about 30 minutes or 40 minutes to review each one. So do the math. It may take us some time to get it reviewed, in this case in the month of April, but you will graduate. I do not have the power to stop you from graduating. But you will not graduate if you don't make the edits that we suggest, okay? So the goal is I will get you graduated, I promise. You can march in commencement if you haven't seen it yet. I hope you have, but you can march in commencement. That's the #1 anxiety. I get these emails from faculty. I can't believe you won't let them graduate. I don't have that power. You have the power. Turn in the COA. Turn in your ETD. We will process it for a graduation this semester if you do that. Okay, so you will graduate in the semester you want to as long as you submit it on time. Okay, what are some of the things to look out for on the certificate of approval? Okay. We want it typed, not handwritten, because it's hard for us to read the handwriting sometime. Can we graduate in spring and defend in summer? No, you cannot graduate without a defense. You have to have the defense because I won't review anything until after they make all the corrections on the defense. Okay, so look at the certificate of approval. Read it very carefully. The thing that is causing most people to stumble is the embargo options. The embargo options. What does embargo mean? Embargo means we're going to hold it back. Okay? Please understand that because this work was produced at the University of South Florida, we have the right to publish it in Scholar Commons, and that's in the graduate catalog. So we have that right. Why do we have that right? It's because your faculty were involved with it, and it's a demonstration of the work that they've done. Okay, so we have the right to publish it in Scholar Commons. You always hold on to the copyright. We do not have the copyright, but you do give us the permission because of the fact that you've worked with faculty and you've used USF resources for us to post this on our website. So what's going to happen when you submit your ETD, it is going to go to ProQuest, and we're going to talk more about ProQuest, but the reason why we use ProQuest is it's a manuscript moving document. Helps us a workflow. Comes to us, goes back to you. Comes to us, goes back to you. Okay, so it's a workflow. Also, ProQuest packages all of the theses and dissertations for us so that they are editable in PDF, not editable, but that PDF where you can click on something and it opens up. It does all of those little HTML things that make it a fun document. So they do all of that for us for free. They publish it on their website and they send it to us to put on the Scholar Commons website. That takes a couple of months. I would be surprised if the fall ETDs were posted yet in Scholar Commons, okay? So I wanted you to understand that it's going to be posted. All right, so if you have a issue with copyright, so let's say that you need to publish, you want to publish this, and there would be some problem in publishing it once it's out there on the web. You can request a 1-year embargo, okay? 1 year to get your work out, okay? So that means that you're going to embargo it for a year. You can do that, and that's totally fine. I have a really hard time telling you when to embargo it and when not to, because it's discipline specific. I can say that in the sciences, your major professor may want you to embargo it. This is a conversation with your major professor. They need to tell you what they think. What do I tell my students? I have a student graduating with her PhD this semester. What did I tell her? Pick immediate worldwide access is what I told her. Okay, why did I do that? Because there's no harm in it. It gets her work out there. She is not going to take her dissertation and immediately turn it over as is to a publisher. She's not writing a book. Okay, that's why MFA come in a different way, and we'll talk about that because I saw an MFA. You are writing a book, and yes, copyright is important, and we will protect that for you. But for most of us, you need to know whether or not it matters. I can tell you, most journals, you have to tell them that this is part of your dissertation. They say that as long as it's 20% different from what you turned into us, it's fine, they'll publish it. So what's going to happen with my student, she's probably going to break up the current document in at least two articles, change up the literature review right now, chapter 1, which is 30 pages long, down to 4 pages. So it's not going to be the same. So you see what I'm saying? You're not plagiarizing yourself. It's a different document. So in my field, and I'm in the social sciences, I haven't had any trouble with getting things published when it's still up on Scholar Commons and on ProQuest. So I'm begging you, have that conversation with your major professor. What's the other reason why I'm begging you? that decision is very hard to undo, okay? It's not easy for us to undo it. So you can mark it on here, and we will honor that, but I'm telling you right now, you've got to make your decision here on this form, match your ProQuest submission. So we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. ProQuest is going to ask you the same question. Honestly, whatever you choose in ProQuest is what's going to happen. So if you choose worldwide access here and you choose to embargo it in ProQuest, it will be embargoed. If you choose embargo here and choose worldwide access in ProQuest, it will have worldwide access. The reason is that ProQuest is the one that prepares the file for us to post on Scholar Commons. So that embargo option is the most important. Okay, so think about it. Talk to your major professor. It's really important that you do the right thing. If you've got a patent pending, you have an article submitted, talk to the journal, see what they think, okay? Many of you are doing a 3-article dissertation, so you already have 1 or 2 articles published. It's not an issue. We're going to talk about copyright in a few minutes, so that's more of an issue. But please, I can't stress it enough. We've had a lot of people choose the wrong thing this past fall in particular because, you know, we're not on campus and it's not easy to get answers to questions. But I'll try to help you, but it really isn't my decision. It does depend on your advisor, okay? The next thing, copyright permissions. That's what we're asking here. If you have an article that's currently in print, you need to write to that book or that journal company and ask for permission to print it in your thesis or dissertation. Chances are excellent that they'll approve that, and they'll also tell you how they want you to indicate where this is published. We had one say, oh, I want it at the bottom of every single page in the footer. Some of them say at the beginning of the chapter, you know, copyright permission has been granted, or this appears as this reference, okay? But you have to demonstrate copyright permissions, okay? So we want to do that. We'll come back and talk more about other things that need copyright. Photo subject release, okay? This is really important. With the advent of Twitter and Instagram, we've had a lot of theses using photographs. I need to know that if you're going to put some of those photographs and you can identify the people in them, that you have their permission to do that, okay? It's one thing to agree to do your study, it's another to have your photo put in a thesis or dissertation for the world to see, okay? So we just want to make sure that can be in your informed consent form. You know, you can have them check a box. Is it okay for me to use your photo in my dissertation? Or you can ask the people after the fact, because just because they signed an IRB form, consent form, does not mean that they agreed to have a photo shown in your dissertation or thesis. Okay, so you want to make sure we know that. Again, with children, be very, very careful. You've seen it on the news. And I saw the news the other day and they cut off the kid's head and they were having him show his little thing and all you could see was a body, and because we're very sensitive about protecting children in photos, so you want to do it. The other thing is you need to send me confirmation of IRB or IACUC approval. Okay, so here's your certificate of approval form. You have to have all of your committee members sign and date it. And then depending on the college you're in, the associate dean or program director must sign and date it. And the part at the bottom is for us only, so don't worry about that. So when you put it into DocuSign, you're going to have to set up, you know, the roll call of the signatures, set up an order, a signing order, so that they can get signed. Okay, so plagiarism check. Okay, this is on your final, I think I said final document, okay? Your final document. Please, I beg you, do not turn it in tonight to see if you've plagiarized. Remember, it's done in Canvas, and it's done with Turn It In, Remember. So if you run it before you're finished, your finished version is going to come back 100% plagiarized because it's going to say you plagiarized yourself, okay? So you don't do the plagiarism check until you are ready to turn it into ETD. That's the very last thing you're going to do. So the minute your committee approves everything and it's all good, you run the plagiarism check. Now, there's always a few little snafus on this. It's getting a little bit better. Faculty don't know how to do this, so I won't tell you how to tell them how to do it. You all have a thesis or dissertation class in your Canvas, okay? You have one of those. What your major professor needs to do, or whoever you registered with, they need to go into that thesis or dissertation course, open up an assignment, click turn it in, and then you can submit your thesis or dissertation into that assignment, okay? So you have to create an assignment. I know. Why can't they just, set up the thesis and dissertation courses that way? They can't. We've asked. I've had a lot of people ask me that. Canvas won't let us do that. It just doesn't program that way. So we either have to put that assignment in every single Canvas course we do every semester, or none. So since there's only 200 and some people doing this, we have the professors go in and submit the assignment. Okay, so you've got this thesis or dissertation course in your Canvas. You go there, you click on it. There should be an assignment for you to upload. All right, what are some tips to make this go well? Okay, you want to, can you go back? Because I just want, you got to make sure the file size is not too big. Okay, so it's got to be less than 20 megabytes or 400 pages. Now, some of you are like, what? 400 pages? Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. 20 megabytes is with a lot of photos and stuff. You can get pretty big. So what do you need to do? How can you make it go through smoothly? Well, the first thing you might want to do is change it to a doc file. So under Save As, change it to a doc file instead of docx. Okay, now here's the best tip of the day. You got your perfect final dissertation or thesis. Make a copy of it. Put this good one over here, okay? That's the one you're going to submit to ProQuest later on. Take this one, which is a copy of that one, and you can alter it, okay? You can go in and take out all the figures or images. That'll make the file smaller. It doesn't check for plagiarism of images, okay? So you can take them all out. Now you see why I wanted you to have a separate file. I don't want you to mess up your formatting. You can save it as a doc file. You can go in, and if you need to make it smaller, you can make the font size smaller, as small as 2 or 3 point. You're like, well, you can't read that. Yeah, we can't, but Turnitin can, okay? So those are some tips on how to make your file size smaller so it goes through the plagiarism check well. What you're going to do, you don't want to wait till 5 minutes before it's due to do this. It can take a couple of hours, hopefully not a day, but it can get stuck. There's some things that happen, so you want to leave some time so that we can help you get it through if there's a problem. So give yourself several hours to let it process, because you've got a big document here. Then here's what's going to happen. It's going to print out a page, okay? And that's the plagiarism summary. So let's go to the next slide so you can see what one looks like. So here's some examples of a Turnitin results, okay? It looks like this or something similar. What we're looking for is that percentage. You can see 13% on the right-hand side. So what's a perfect percent? None of them, okay? I hate to tell you, but Turnitin is just a text matching system. It is not truly a plagiarism checker, okay? There are very few real plagiarism checkers. What Turnitin does is it goes out and on everything that it can evaluate, it sees if you have a similar paragraph or something in your document that was found somewhere else. So what you have to do, so what's the percentage? Well, let's say that I was silly and I submitted my dissertation tonight to turn it in. Well, this plagiarism thing is going to come back at 85% or something like that plagiarized. Is it plagiarized? No, it's your work. It goes back and tells you somebody submitted this document, okay? It's not smart enough to know that you turned it in twice, okay? So I don't know what the percentage is. A lot of professors say less than 20%. That's what I typically see. But, you know, if you put a poem in your, and be careful because you need copyright, but if you put a poem in your, dedication, that's going to come up plagiarized. You know, so sometimes there's legitimate plagiarism because you already got the copyright for it. So I can't tell you what that percentage should be. Here's what you're supposed to do. You take this plagiarism check and you and your major professor look it over. And your major professor decides whether or not there's plagiarism. Okay? Makes sense because they're the ones that know the field. I don't know the field, so I can't, they'll recognize stuff that I would never catch. Okay? So you go over it. It's going to be fine. Okay? Don't plagiarize, I get it. Well, I don't know if I did. If you don't know if you did, you probably didn't, okay? So turn it in, see what you get, talk it over with your professor. Once they approve it, then you're only going to give us the first page. We just want the first page. We like to see the percentage, so whatever page with the percentage on it. But if you look carefully at the slide, over on the other side, you can see where it tells you, here's something and here's where I found it. I mean, if you look over here, the 3% submitted to Kennesaw State University, okay? That would be a red flag to me. It's 3%. I'd go look at it. It highlights the text. So it's showing you what is the area for concern. You and your major professor work it out. All we want to see is the front page of the plagiarism check, okay? So let's go on to the next slide. All right, so now you've had your defense, you've made all the corrections, your certificate of approval is signed. So what are you going to do? Well, I want you to get your certificate approval and the first page of your plagiarism check. And if you're a doctoral student, we ask you to take the Survey of Earned Doctorates. This is a federal project. It's done all over the country. I just did the report yesterday. Every semester, they email me and say, who graduated? And I tell them who graduated. And then if they see somebody who graduated that I missed, they write me back and go, you didn't get this person, verify that he graduated. So this is a survey that's run by the federal government. Please, if you're a doctoral student, take it. If there's any questions that make you uncomfortable, please just skip the question, okay? Please do the survey. But if they ask you something that makes you uncomfortable, just don't answer it. It's one of those things that will let you submit it if not everything is answered. So please do that. So if you're a master's thesis, the certificate of approval and the first page of the plagiarism check. If you're a doctoral student, certificate of approval, first page of the plagiarism check, and your certificate from the said survey. At the end, when you finish, you can print out the certificate. Take all of those documents, put them into a single PDF, and you're going to submit it via our Microsoft form that we have, okay? It's going to come into our office, and we're going to look at all that paperwork, make sure it's correct. If there's something wrong, we'll let you know, but we won't even consider reviewing your ETD until that paperwork is in, okay? So turn in that paperwork. You can email it to the email address there, gradetdmail@usf.edu, okay? If you have problems with the form. But please, it's so much easier for us if you put it in the form. It puts it in a box for us and we can look at it, okay? Even if your department decides to deliver the form, it needs to be in one packet. Some programs do that, okay? So you're going to submit that. Now that's just the beginning, So what else do you have to do? Okay, don't forget to submit your ETD to ProQuest. We had 2 people last semester do that. Okay, you can't graduate until we approve. I can't change the Z to an S until I see your thesis or dissertation. So we need that paperwork. That's important. That tells me that your committee has approved the document that you're going to submit. So you submit those forms through the Microsoft Forms, then you go over and you register for ProQuest. Okay, so there's those ETD quick links on our website. All these registrations are right there. You click and you can do them. You can register for ProQuest today if you want. Nothing's going to happen, but you know, you can wait on that one. But you got to register to submit your document. We have to see your document. That's what we're approving, okay? Has to be the final committee approved version, okay? So we're going to go back, we're going to look and make sure that you have made all of the, that you followed the formatting instructions and that you have been consistent. This will be a PDF document, so take your lovely Word document that you made a copy of to do your plagiarism check. Go back to that original one. You're going to PDF that because it's ready to come in, okay? You're going to submit it via ProQuest. We will not review any ETD until all of the required paperwork is turned in. Required paperwork, certificate of approval, plagiarism check, and said survey if you're a doctoral student. You've done your ETD registration, because remember, I can't change your grade if I don't have that, okay? And you've submitted a PDF copy of your ETD in ProQuest, okay? So that's what you've got to do. Paperwork, ETD registration, and get your ETD into ProQuest, okay? So now what happens? ProQuest is going to ask you a bunch of questions. So the first thing you have to do is create the ProQuest account. Okay, so it's really simple. You can see where the arrow is. There's a sign up button. It says, you know, sign up and get started today. So you got to create a new student account. Please, please, please use an email that you check. A lot of students will put their USF email in there, and they never check their USF email. They only use their Gmail account or Yahoo or whatever. I don't care what email address you put in there, but if you put it in there, that's how we're going to communicate with you. That is the email that all information is going to go to. So please use that email check account. Check it often. Make sure the spelling of your email address is correct. You know, I do that sometimes. I flip a few letters when I'm in a hurry. So that's the only way we have to contact you. So it comes in, we're going to send it out. We don't get a bounce back email. Okay, that's not how this works. So you got to make sure your email address is correct. Okay, so once you sign in, you'll get an email and then you will be able to log in. So once you log in, it's going to start asking a bunch of questions. Okay, so that'll. All right, so as we've talked about before, you get to choose your publishing options. Okay, now there's several questions. And so as I said, this is free. Let me tell you how to get it for free. Okay, because ProQuest wants to make some money, so you have to decide whether you really want to pay for that. So number one, they're going to say, what kind of publishing do you want to do? Traditional publishing, there's the zero, that's zero, no fee there. That's what you should choose. The other option is open access for $95. You're like, open access? Of course I want open access. I want everybody to see what I've got. Okay. Yes, you're right. But guess what? Scholar Commons is open access. ProQuest is open access. Your document's already going to appear there. It's going to reach the vast majority of all of the venues that you want to get to between those two. This open access for $95 really doesn't buy you much, but if you'd like to do that, you can pick it and you will pay $95. But we're not suggesting it. We're not encouraging you to do that. There is no need unless you feel strongly that there's a need, okay? Because all of the major search engines are already looking at ProQuest and Scholar Commons. Okay, here's the embargo option again, okay? So this is having you withhold the release of your ETD, okay? If you want it held back for 1 year, you're like, just why only 1 year? Honestly, that's an issue of research misconduct. If you don't get the article out quickly, the data's old. You should be able to get it out in a year. If you can't, or there's some other issue, please, you can email me at the end of toward the end of the first year, and you can request an additional year, but you cannot request beyond that. Okay, so we want you to get your research out. You don't just keep them, oh, I was busy and I couldn't get to it. At that point, it's been too long. Journals are not interested in theses from 2018 for publishing in 2021. They're just not interested in that anymore. It's too old, okay? So if you want to embargo your ETD for a year, now or never, this is the place to do it, because this is the decision that's going to stick, okay? So if you say yes, that means it's going to be immediate worldwide access, i.e. no embargo. If you say no, it's going to be a 1-year embargo, okay? Because it says, do you want your work to be available in ProQuest as soon as it's published? If you say yes, boom, it's going to be up there, okay? And I found out, I didn't know this, but it's published way before we get it in Scholar Commons. So they publish it pretty soon after the semester. So I would assume that some of the fall 2020 theses and dissertations are available on ProQuest, not in Scholar Commons yet, okay? So I'm begging of you, pick the right option. It does matter. If you pick the wrong one, it's not too late, but it's not easy. I can't do it. There's nothing I can do to help you. You're going to have to deal with ProQuest, and then they have to ask my permission and all kinds of stuff. So make that decision in conjunction with your major professor. It really is very important, especially in ProQuest registration. Okay, so that's the embargo option. And then there's some other optional services that you can get. Number one, it says you can register for a copyright. I want a copyright. I want one, and they'll file it for you for $55. Or you can do it yourself for $35. But guess what? You already got a copyright. That's why you put the copyright thing on the title page. You already got a copyright. So there's no, you own the copyright. So there really is no reason to do that. If your major professor feels like you should, then please do, but there is no reason to pay that money. The next thing is to order hardbound copies, okay? So you really, really worked hard on this, and you want a book to put on your shelf to show that you did it. I don't blame you. I've got 2 sitting in my office. But it's really expensive. I think it's about $150 to $200 per book, okay? So you want to think about that. And I would tell you that people that have chosen the ProQuest option to do this have generally been disappointed. They found typos on the cover. Now there's always going to be typos in your ETD, okay? Always. I find one in mine every time I open it up, okay? So you're always going to have some typos. That's just life, okay? But I'm talking about, you know, the print isn't straight on the cover, and everybody that I've had many complaints about the binding that ProQuest does. So I would not recommend it, but if you want to, that's fine. And they'll tell you what the cost is when you choose that. You have another option. You can Google online printing and binding, okay, or self-printing, and you'll get a bunch of options. You know, ProCopy might do it for you, okay. Just be super duper careful when you do that, because there are many agencies out there that are trying to steal your work. And so they will take it and they will bind it, but they're also going to take your copyright away from you and try to sell it. So if you're going to use these third-party options, make sure that you're only having them print and bind it, and that you're not turning over your copyright for them so that they can publish it, okay? So it's up to you, you know, electronic version is what most faculty want, so don't think that they want it. It really is a personal decision on your part. So what you have to do is there's no fees if you just do their, the electronic publication of it, but you can choose a copyright, you can choose open access, and you can order bound copies. But if you choose not to do any of them, you pay zero, nothing to ProQuest. And that is my recommendation. But it's up to you. It's totally up to you what you want to do. So it should cost you nothing. Anything that you do is it. And again, just make sure we're going to work with you through ProQuest. You want a confirmation email, you will get it, check it all the time. At the when you're done, you get this cool email that says congratulations and this things fly, and it's really cool. So but do check your email. Our biggest problem is people do not make the edits quickly enough. They do, let's say in April, but some of you may come in real close to the deadline, and we have a really hard time at the end of the semester getting you to make those edits. And I'm just telling you right now, I can't get an S into your transcript. You can't graduate until you turn it in to me. You get it in and we approve it, you will absolutely graduate. All right, no questions on that. And again, we're looking for consistency and we're looking at the formatting at the beginning. So what should you expect after you submit it to ProQuest? Okay, so what's going to happen? You've got all your paperwork in, you now put it into ProQuest. We are checking all of that because we're not going to review it till we have all the paperwork and an ETD submission, okay? Once we get all of that, we will start to review them. It takes us about 7 to 10 business days, that's Monday through Friday, 7 to 10 business days to process your ETD. You get it in earlier, we'll get it done faster. If you turn it in closer or on the deadline, we've got so many, it could take 14 days. It's just, poor Ashley's working her heart out at that time, and we have some other people helping, but it's just tough for us to get them done. It does take 30 to 45 minutes on that first review. So that means that she only gets about 8 done a day. And if 85 came in, you're talking at least 11 days. Okay, so please, if you require revisions, and please know that everybody, it is the exception, everybody gets something to come back once. Okay, so don't feel bad about that. That's just normal. It's going to come back and we're going to ask for some revisions. If there's something you don't agree with, ask us, okay? We make mistakes sometimes, or we didn't understand what you were trying to do. So we'll work with you, but do respond to the edits. Now, I will tell you, here's the biggest problem I'm seeing right now. Let's say that you didn't do your headings right. There's not a real cool distinction between level 1 and level 2 headings. We can't tell the difference. So we ask you to fix that. And we may point out 1 or 2 instances of this. We are not going to go through the entire 150-page document and point out every instance of a heading error. We're going to show you some errors, and then we expect you to find them all the way throughout. So we have a lot of people last semester going, every time I turn it in, they find something new. Yeah, because you only fixed the 2 things we asked, showed you to fix, and you didn't fix it throughout. So we're not finding anything new. You just didn't fix it all the way through, okay? So look at the comments, and it means for the whole document, not just the instances that we pointed out, okay? But what you want to do, you're going to get an email, you get it in, we're going to make some suggestions for revisions. We're going to send it back to you in ProQuest. You're going to get an email. You're going to open it up. It's going to be an annotated PDF file. Annotated PDF, okay? What that means is that there's going to be comments on it, so you can look at the comments that we make. Please do not edit the PDF. You will be crying and crying and crying. It just does not edit well. Sometimes it needs to go over to the next page, it won't do it. Well, then what am I supposed to edit? Ooh, remember that handy dandy doc that you had, the Word doc? Go back to your Word document that you turned in, make all of the edits on that Word document, then you're going to PDF it, and you're going to submit it to ProQuest as a revision, okay? You're going to submit it. Don't submit it as a brand new. It's a revision of a previous document, okay? And it's going to come into our office. We're going to review it again. We're going to check the things because we know what we asked you to do. And we may ask you to do something else that you didn't catch or we didn't catch the first time. We don't deliberately find new things the second time around. Trust me. Think about it. Why would I want to review your document 4 and 5 times? Really, why would I? Okay, you know, I've got a bunch of them to review. So very carefully address our comments throughout your whole document. You come in this, resubmit it, it should be okay. You know, we may find something that you didn't fix quite right, or you didn't know what we meant. We'll help you with that, okay? It is rare if it goes beyond 2 submissions, okay? So we'll try to do it as fast as we can. Now remember, we've got all these, we got two stacks running. We got all of these ones that haven't been reviewed yet, and then we have all of these submissions where they've made revisions. We're working on, you know, moving both of those stacks at the same time. Remember, in April, there will be over 150 documents that we're trying to manipulate at one time. So be patient. Please don't email us until it's been 7 to 10 days, okay? Day 3, at that time, we don't know where you are in the stack. You know, we're working on it, okay? So please make it. When you upload your revised PDF, you're going to have to click through all of the boxes and screens again to confirm things, so make sure you do it, okay? But do submit it as a revision, okay? We'll do our best. It'll take us another 7 to 10 days to get that back to you. But we'll let you know we're working as fast as we can. But if you have submitted to ProQuest, you will absolutely, with 100% certainty, graduate this semester or the semester in which you submitted it. That's what we do, okay? If it's in ProQuest, you're good, and we'll work with you and we'll get it done. Okay, so there's nothing to panic about. Grandma can come. Okay, nobody's coming, I guess, this spring, but I'm just saying you will graduate. Okay, so don't worry about it. All right, what are the fees? How much does it cost? Okay, so what happens is we don't assess the fee until after your ETD is approved. What that means is a fee is going to show up in your OASIS account. You're going to have to pay that in order to get your transcript ultimately, okay? So this fee covers the salary of the person in the ETD office, and that person does this workshop, does the website, a lot of things to help you out, meets with you and things, so that's what it's about. So we have a fee scale, and if you turn it in 2 weeks before the deadline, okay, 2 weeks before the deadline, 14 days before it's due, we'll only charge you $75, okay? If you submit it within the 2 weeks before, so 13 days before the deadline, all the way up to the deadline, it's a $100 fee, okay? And you already know why that's the case, because how many do I have in the queue 2 weeks beforehand? I can tell you right now, 30. How many am I getting? 220. They all pop in those last 2 weeks, so this is an incentive for you to try to get it into us sooner. But remember, you can't submit it until it's the final version. You've had to have your defense, and it has to be totally approved by your committee. So you want to encourage your committee. So you want to think about these dates and figure out how can you make the date that you want to make with your committee. If you're graduating this semester, you should pretty much have your defense scheduled, or at least a tentative date on the calendar so that faculty will be available. So that's the fee. Now there's a third fee. So we charge you an extra $25 if there's more than 20 comments. So some students just turn it in unformatted, believe it or not. And more than 4 reviews, okay? That means it's gone back and forth 4 times. If you understand, it is not in our best interest to review this any more times than we have to. It just slows everything down. So that will incur an extra $25. So if you got it in early and you still had to do you know, 4 reviews, it's going to be $100. If you turned it in for $100 and you had to do that, it'll be $125. That'll show up in your Oasis account, and you know, you'll have to pay that before your transcript will be released. All right, now MFA, and I know there's at least one person here with MFA. So what's happening here is you basically follow the same requirements, except we do have a modified certificate of approval form that you would fill out. Okay, so you know, we do want to embargo your work, because this is typically, for those of you that don't know and are listening, it's a book of poetry, it's a book of short stories, it's a novel. They've written something that absolutely will be published, and the copyright is incredibly important in those situations. So we have a different process for them to. So I need the certificate of approval form, because it's important for us to know that your committee has approved this work. We need the plagiarism check, you know, because you've got to have original work. Your committee would be very particular about that. And then what you're going to do is just email it to us. Okay, you would email it to us, and we'll look at it and make sure. But you know, your formatting may be interesting based on, you know, what you're trying to do with your project. So the good news is Ashley is an MFA grad, so she gets it. So she knows what's going on. All right. So again, there's a certificate form. It's pretty much the same, and you just need to complete it. You have to have everybody sign it. Again, this is going to go into your permanent file. Sometimes the Board of Governors asks me for this information, so that's why we do that. So just make sure that you have the certificate of approval. The plagiarism check will be the same way. Same issues that we talked about. They have to have the assignment in your class and do it. Same results, talk about it. In your instances, I would assume that there would be, you know, the numbers would be lower since it's original work. Sorry, lots of post-nasal drip. All right, so you want to turn in the MFA approval form and the first page of the document. That plagiarism check, that goes into our Microsoft form. And again, that just helps us tremendously if you submit it in the form. And then send a PDF copy of your work to us at our grad ETD email. Okay, so otherwise it's pretty much the same. We just wanted to let you know that that never does get released, that we do keep that in confidence because you're going to publish it. All right, so help sessions and assistance, okay? We have one-on-one help sessions, like I mentioned, it's in bookings. And so you're going to go in and sign up for an appointment. Please only sign up for one. Sometimes people go up and sign up for 2 or 3, where, you know, when the most people need the help is also when we're trying to review theses and dissertations. So, you know, we don't want to keep our people answering questions when they need to be reviewing documents. So we try to limit the meetings to 15, 20 minutes. They're not there to fix it for you. They're there to guide you and to show you how to do some things. And then so you can go to our ETD Workshops and Help Sessions page for more information on this. But we are available and happy to answer your questions, happy to tell you how to do the leader dots. You know, and if time permits, sometimes we'll help you with them, but, you know, with email. So, you know, don't hesitate to use us. Again, you heard me say earlier, and I really meant that with all sincerity. I don't want people crying at night or throwing things up against the wall. If something isn't formatted within 30 minutes, set up an appointment. You'll be surprised at how quickly we can finish it and help you. This is not meant to be a frustrating thing to do. I will say that latex is unusual. Catherine Burton will kill me over in engineering, but she knows a little bit. There's no latex librarian. We've tried to hire somebody. We know very little about latex, but kudos to Ashley. She Googles it and finds a lot of answers. So we'll work with you with latex. I know it's the best thing for mathematical formulations. You absolutely may use it, but we are less helpful. If you're in Microsoft Word on a PC or a Mac, we're your girls. We can help you out. We got that. Okay. Previously published material. This is critical. So we need to get permission. This is a copyright issue. Okay. So I know that many of you have, you know, an article that you're going to put in there in your dissertation or thesis. Now, here's my suggestion. It is very, very difficult to get approved for a preprint into a Word document and maintain the formatting that we're looking for. So I would suggest we're much more lenient on the formatting in the appendices. So you could say chapter 2, see, put the title on there, see Appendix F, and put it in the appendix. The other way to do it is go back to the Word document that you turned in for the article and put that in for the chapter. Okay, so there's different ways to do it, but you need to get permission. Even if it's a proceedings at a conference, you need permission from that organization to publish it in your thesis or dissertation. The vast majority of the time, they will grant that permission. There are some people, I can't tell you who they are, you'll find out when you ask them, will say, no, you can't, but you can put a link to the open access article on our website. Okay, well then put the link in chapter 2. Put the reference, put a link, and it'll go out to that article. So it's getting stickier and stickier. The more we talk about open access, the harder it is to do some of these publishing things. So you have to do that. I ask you, how do you get it? You email the publisher, go to the publisher's website. I just finished a book a couple years ago, and I had an author that had 3 figures from a book in his chapter. So I went to the website, I think it was Taylor and Francis, and I clicked on it. It says, need copyright? So I clicked on the copyright button, and then right at the top, 3 or fewer figures do not require copyright. If that's the case, take a screenshot of that, submit it in the appendix to show us that you went after the copyright. If you have to ask for copyright, click it. They usually let you send an email right from the website. And what you will do is send them an email, tell them what you want to do. They'll write you back. Give us a copy of that email so that we know that the copyright was obtained. Okay? Very, very important. This is if you're using part of a chapter, if you're using something you published, if you're using something from something else. And also, don't forget, go back one. I'm just sorry, my mind just went blank. Go back to the previous slide at the bottom. Oh, do not forget that the library is very helpful in this. Lietta Schmidt, she is the copyright librarian. That woman will bend over backwards to help you get copyright. She is great on fair use of things. So you can ask me a question, and I'm probably going to copy you over to Lietta Schmidt. So if you click on those, she has some copyright approval telling you how to do it. She'll help you get it. The library is there to help you. You don't have to physically go to the library. I email her, and she responds within an hour. Okay, you're like, well, that's you. No, I've seen her do it for students too. I mean, she is on, one day she was on vacation and even responded to us when we were asking. So, you know, definitely there is help in the library for copyright if you have any questions. Okay, sorry, now you can go to the next one. All right, so what you're going to have to do is when you get the copyright clearance, they're going to tell you how they want you to let people know that you have it. So here's some examples. You know, it can be a note to the reader at the beginning of the chapter. It can be in the footnote. There's an example there. You know, portions of this have been published. Okay, they will tell you what they want. If not, use that example statement. Okay, but they're getting kind of picky. They want to make sure that people know where you can find the original work. So it's important. Please know that if you're going to use an article in your thesis or dissertation, you are to be the first author of that. I do realize that some of you, like you're using the method section of an article and you're like the 4th author on it or something. You need to explain that to us. All this stuff goes in emails and in things in the appendix. If you're not the first author, we're going to need to know, you know, what's your level of involvement? What did you do? You know, but, you know, I've used this method example because it happens a lot. You know, you wrote the method for your postdoc's article. Okay, well, that's fine. You're not taking the whole article. You're just taking the method. And so that's different. I'm talking about if you're using an entire article as a requirement, then you need to have the copyright and you need to be first author. Okay. So if you have any questions, let me know about that. Okay, so we need all of the permissions in the appendices. Okay, so in the appendices, it looks sloppy, but it's fine. You know, just say copyrights. That would be a appendix F or whatever. And then just put all your copyright information there. We are checking for that. Okay, that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest thing that I handle, are all the legal ramifications on the ETDs. I get people calling me up and saying, you know, this person didn't cite, this person cited me, but didn't put me in the reference list. I'm going to sue. And so I fix it so they don't sue you. So I get it fixed and I find out what to do. So it's really important that you have all of those documents in there. Okay. I talked about putting PDF reprints in the appendices as opposed to trying to put them in the text. You'll just find it easier. Make sure you do what they want. If they refuse to let you reprint it, which I don't know that we've had that happen very often, if at all. You can just tell me where it is published and where they can find it. So it's not going to hinder your graduation. We just need to know how to appropriately attribute what you did. Okay, so like I said before, it's been published here, and then you can put a link out to the website to show that it's been done. All right, so what can we do to avoid violating a copyright law? Okay, so really what we're doing when we're reviewing your ETD, we're looking for consistency in formatting, and we're looking for copyright violations, and we find them. Okay, so here's a big one. Please never use real names. Well, how are we going to know? I'll tell you. I'm looking for a statement that says all the names are pseudonyms. Okay, that should be in your method section. You do not use real names. Okay, so there are certain circumstances if you wanted to refer to the president at a particular point in time, well, everybody knows who that would be. Okay, so that's a different thing, but I'm just saying, don't do it. I mean, we had a professor on campus that lost research privileges for 5 years because she turned out 3 theses in which real names of the participants were used. Okay, it came up as a research misconduct. So it is important that you change them. Please don't go to their initials. If their name is, you know, Jose Cuervo, don't put JC in there. Okay, that isn't, no. They can figure that out. We had a Title IX case where that was the case. The person put the initials of the people in there, and when we had to look at it, we could figure out who everybody was. You make up initials, make up names. It's okay to call them, you know, student 1, student 2. Just be careful. Make sure that you're not doing that. The other thing, you take a table from an article. Copyright. You got to get copyright from the journal to reproduce that table. It's not enough to take out one line of data. Oh, I modified it. No. It has to be more modified than that. Okay? So you got to get the copyright to use a table, a figure, even a rubric. The biggest thing that some people do is you find, you know, this survey online and you want to use the survey. Okay? Well, that's where the fair use comes in. If it says clearly on the website you're able to use this for research purposes, screenshot it, put it in the appendix, and you're good. If it doesn't say anything like that, you got to check. This is where Lietta Schmidt can be very helpful to you. But just because something's on the internet does not mean that you can reproduce it in your thesis or dissertation. Okay, so definitely be very careful, ask about it. Look at the fair use exception. Lietta's great at working with that. So do err on the side of caution and include the documentation in your appendix so that we know when you know, we see the survey, you put it there. Here's the survey I used, and there's a website address. That's like ding, 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 ding. Did you have copyright on that? We're going to ask. Okay, so you want to do that. There's the fair use guide, and there you go. There's my buddy Lietta Schmidt. There's her email address right there. She will help you with anything that you need. You're welcome to ask me. You're welcome to ask Ashley, but she's the person that really knows, and we'll probably defer to her, but we can help you as best we can. Okay, so please be careful with copyright. So let's go. All right, IRB and IACUC approvals. Okay, so IACUC is animals, IRB is human subjects. When you get ready to do a study, you do apply, if you are using humans or animals, you apply to the IRB and they review your project, okay? You submit some paperwork, they review it, and they always send you a determination letter. You're like, well, where is that? Well, if you submitted it, it should be in your IRB portal. So you're going to go up and you're going to go into your account and you can find it on the side there. It'll have all of those letters stored there. So just PDF it or copy it, and then you can include it in your document, the PDF document, so that we know that you have IRB or IACUC approval. So it is the actual letter that we're looking for. Well, my major professor had the IRB or IACUC. Then ask them to send you a PDF of that letter. They're very easy to get, very easy. They don't have to talk to anybody. They just go into their account. You click, I think it's a second tab over, and they're all there. You just right-click it, open it, and save it. Okay, so we will be looking for that and asking for that. And even now they're doing exempt and things, so we just need to see the exempt letter. Okay, I use a lot of, I have one of my friends retired and just sent me boxes and boxes of written compositions, and there are no names on there. It's girl 13. You know, that's all I know, girl 13. Okay, I don't need IRB approval on that, but I think even right now they're asking me to put that in for an exempt and get a letter. So definitely include that. Now, including data and HIPAA information. Now, this is really important, okay? I am not a huge fan of you putting all of your data in a bunch of charts, even in your appendix. Why? It's very hard to format, and there are data sharing sites. I thought about you all yesterday because I was reading something I was reading an article, and it says you want to see the data set, and they had the website, and you can go out and look at it on a website. So I don't think it's important to put in, 15 pages of Excel sheets of your data. If you do that, though, you have to de-identify it. Here's my horror story. I was, a couple years ago, I was in my office, and this psychiatrist from LSU Medical Center calls me up. He says, do you know that one of your students has published data in her thesis on the web? Well, it's on Scholar Commons, and it has all of the patients' names, medical numbers, social security numbers, everything in her appendix. Now, how did we miss that? I don't know. I had to immediately put that down. The student that published it had, I think they had their degree taken away from them, rescinded because of that egregious research misconduct. So please go in, get rid of any identifying information. It should be school 1, school 2, school 3, because you don't want to say West Hillsborough County, East Will. People can figure those things out. So make sure that if you're going to put data out there, that you de-identify it so that nobody knows. You don't say, I went out to Town Hall Public School and did my research. You say, I went to a school in West Central Florida. Okay? So be very, very careful. Don't use names or any of that stuff. Okay? So this is just a list of all the things you don't want to put on there. I had another student one day. He went down to Tampa General, got a bunch of data. He had to go into a room and he was writing down data. He decided that was too time consuming. So what he did was he photocopied it and carried out 3 boxes of data, put it on his desk in an unlocked office. He too was convicted of misconduct and wasn't able to graduate. So be very, very careful in doing your data. Make sure it's de-identified. You don't want anybody to know who it is. The last thing I like to talk about is photography. Please remember that any images you take off the internet, you really need to make sure that you can publish them. There are people that troll the internet to find violations so that they can sue you. So be very careful about what you put in there. And if you're using photos, you have to be the person who took the photo. So it's your photo, okay? You have to have permission from the photographer or publisher if it's printed previously. And you need to ask the people, whoever it is, to get their permission to use their likeness in your ETD. So we have a photo release form, okay, and you can find it. You're going to hold on, to that for a while, but definitely, if you don't have permission, you need to conceal the identity. So you've seen things where they put something over their face or things like that. You can show, and this is really big with kids, but be very, very careful. When I first came into this office 6 years ago, the first thing they had me do was somebody was suing us about the use of artwork in theses. So I had to go back through all of the theses and dissertations that had been published at USF and make sure that we had permission to use various pictures. So if they use the Mona Lisa, which I don't think you can, so you have to check for the fair use on some of those things. So be careful, be really careful. It's just not the same as, sending a letter to your friend. All right, I think that's everything. So yeah, so here's these, I love this slide. Frequently asked questions. If my dissertation hasn't been approved, will I still be called at commencement? Yes, as long as you registered by the deadline. Yes, your name will be called, okay? What happens is all we have to do, just like your major professor or any professor you have, the grades are due the Tuesday after commencement. Okay, they're always due the Tuesday after commencement. So we are working feverishly to get as many people done by commencement as possible. Okay, and we are fairly successful in that. But what happens on the Tuesday of commencement week, you're freaking out. I haven't heard yet. Well, we're still working on getting to you. So please know that you will graduate. If you submit your ETD to ProQuest, it's all good, okay? How long does it take to review it? It depends. The earlier, the faster it will be done. The closer to the deadline, the longer it's going to be the wait. How will I know if it's been reviewed? You will know because you will get an email, okay? It's going to what you signed up for in ProQuest, so make sure that you know which email it is, and do check your spam folder. I get weird things going to spam, so do check that. And if you need any help, there you go. Ashley's there to help you, and Lisa sometimes is available for helping, so we're there. So we've got some questions, so you can go to Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and start answering some of the questions in there. So somebody said, how about if part of the dissertation is a published journal conference for myself and my advisor? That's totally fine. That's totally fine. You should be first author if you're going to use it, but that's between you and your advisor. But you can use it. Just make sure that you get copyright because it's published, so you'll need copyright. So I hope I answered that, but yes, it's totally fine. The next one is, I have a current chapter review right now, so I'm thinking about doing the embargo. Yes, I think that's fine. The embargo, again, that's up to you and your major professor. The copyright, oh, that's a great question. On the embargo, nothing happens to the copyright. The copyright always stays with you, okay? So once it's published, that's going to be you will have talked with your publisher about who owns the copyright at that point. I mean, they usually let you own it, but they also own a part of it too. So I can't answer the part about multiple chapters and multiple copyrights. That you have to deal with the publishers. They'll work it out. I mean, you're not publishing the same thing in various places, so you probably aren't going to have any copyright problems. But yeah, all of that's way outside the purview of what we're doing here. But put it in an embargo, and then at that point in time, you would just let them know that your dissertation is going to be published, and it shouldn't be a problem as long as they're the first ones to get it out. That's all they worry about. Can a citation substitute for copyright? No. You have to have permission. I need a letter that says, an email that says that you have the right to put it in there, and then you have to use a citation when you do cite it. So a citation is not a substitute for copyright. You need both. The copyright people will tell you exactly how to do the citation. That's what they'll tell you. What if the photo was taken in a public place? That's a great question. I would make the photo in such a way that you couldn't recognize people. Because, you know, you're going to see, we haven't done the research symposium. We will do it this year. It will be virtual. We make you sign a photo release. Anytime, you've probably signed photo releases at USF and you didn't quite know what you were doing. You go to some of the job fairs and stuff, they have you sign photo releases. So I think if you're having a photo in a public place, try to make it so that there's, you know, people are far enough away that you can't recognize them. I mean, I'm willing to look at it, but you have to decide, is it really that important? You know, so I know that it does come up. Somebody, you know, a lot of programs like to do autoethnographies, and so I had a student put in a photo of this man who was deceased, and his buddies getting ready to go on a boating trip. I was like, okay, what does this photo show? Well, he has friends. Okay, nobody asked that question, you know. But come to find out, everybody in the photo was dead, so it was okay to publish it. But I'd be real careful. There's just so many things that can go wrong with photos. So if they're far enough away and you really can't recognize people, it's fine. Is the deadline 5 p.m. on March 19th or midnight? It's 5 p.m. 5 p.m. Okay, but no copyright if the article that is already published is substantially different from the dissertation. I don't know how to answer that, because yes, there's always copyright. If the article that's published is substantially different from the dissertation, there's no need to embargo it. Okay, so you own the copyright in both instances. And if you have your dissertation and then you go to submit it as an article, as long as it's substantially different and you tell that publisher that you have already published it as a dissertation, all should be good. So we don't need the copyright. Well, if that one's such a, I don't
Dr. Barr?
Yeah.
Oh, the question below that one is more specific, and they're from the same person.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Do we only have to ask a journal for copyright permission if we have a publication that is verbatim from the dissertation? Okay. You've reversed everything. Okay, everything is reversed. You only ask for copyright for us if it's already in print. Okay. So if you have an article that's in print and you're using it in your dissertation, then I need copyright clearance from the publisher. You put an embargo on it if you are worried that putting the dissertation out there first is going to affect your ability to publish the article. I hope that made sense. So I think you've kind of confused two things. If it's already in print, I need copyright approval to put it in your dissertation. If it's not in print, I tell my students that their article is going to be substantially different, so there's no worry about it. Both of them can coexist and there's no conflict in copyright. But if you are concerned about that, then embargo it for a year, and when you submit it to any publisher, anytime you submit something from your dissertation, you need to tell them up front, this is from my dissertation. I hope that answered it. What if your study does not require IRB approval and the committee has told you that you don't need to apply? Well, you're going to have to write a piece of paper that explains to us why you don't need IRB approval. And my understanding of IRB approval these days is you have to apply and you're exempt. So they want to know whether it is or it isn't. And that is a change. That is a change in the last few years. So before they used to let us just decide if we were exempt. Now they like for you to go ahead and submit it. But if your committee says you don't need to, then you got to give us a letter, paragraph that explains why you don't need to. Okay, I'm doing a program evaluation. Ooh, I lost that one. Where did it go? If my study was a quality improvement study that didn't require IRB approval and I don't have an exemption letter, will I need to explain that to my ED? Yeah, we're going to need to know because we're going to ask. Okay, as my understanding right today, I'm going to a meeting after this on that very issue. They're asking everybody to apply and then they're telling them. I mean, here's an interesting story. I have a student who's won a very prestigious fellowship to do research abroad. And our IRB said it didn't need anything. It was exempt. We submitted it to the federal government and they refused it and made her resubmit it to the IRB for a full review. Now, I do social science research. I never have to do a full review. It was interesting. I spent an afternoon arguing with the federal government on why were they overturning the judgment of our IRB, and our IRB is furious. But anyway, we've had to redo that, so do it. Okay. I want to know if there's been any. Oh, I'm Ruth Barr. I know you joined. I'm the Associate Dean for the Office of Graduate Studies. Somebody wanted to know. If I do not finish my ETD submission before the deadline, can I apply for an extension to submit it after the deadline? Yes, you can. You need to send me an email and explain the circumstances, and I will work with you on that. rbar, BAHR, @usf.edu. But do let us know early. I won't grant them if the deadline's passed. You got to tell me before the deadline, not after it. Do we have to have the screenshots of the copyright in the table of figures? No. Well, no. Actually, I don't know. It's just in the appendix. Do you care? Do they have to list them? Okay, no. You don't. No. No. What if it's a photograph of a product you can buy? I'd like to use a warning label. Ooh, that's a good one. It depends on where you got the photo. If you took it yourself, you're fine. If you took it off the web, you're going to need permission from whatever website it was on. Lietta Schmidt is the copyright expert. Lietta Schmidt. Do I need copyright permission if I created a figure for the information cited, or I'm only at the figure and table from? Yeah, if you create a figure, you made it, you own it. It's in your document, so it's all fine. Just to follow up on copyright for dissertation, you said that by putting at copyright name on your title page of dissertation submitting through USF, we do not need to purchase a USF. Could you explain that a bit more on why we're protected from without their official filing? I can't explain it any more than I understand, but you have legal copyright. It's your work. It's already posted up on the website. So like anything else on the website, somebody's going to have to ask you for copyright to use your work. I don't know why there would be any need for official copyright. Once it is done, it is published as a thesis or dissertation at the University of South Florida, and that's copyright protected by the university. That's all I know. You can purchase the USF copyright, a US copyright if you wish. I don't think it buys you any more protection than what you already have. That's from the lawyer's office, so our general counsel. Let's see, so the initial pages are being worked on. Apply for IRB now, it takes forever, absolutely, I know, it's taken longer and longer. If I will graduate in the summer, but I'm doing a defense in spring, can I do my defense in April, or does it have to be the deadline for spring? No, if you're going to register for 2 credits in summer, you can do your defense in April, and you can do the corrections in summer and submit it. That's not a problem. But you do need to be registered in 2 credits each semester. One of my sources says you don't have to obtain formal, verbal, or written permission to use the information unless it is being published. We will be published, right? We don't have to obtain formal. Yes, we are being published. Yes, we are being published. Your thesis or dissertation is published in Scholar Commons. It's on the website. So yes, you do need copyright. What if a photograph you can buy? Okay, we did the cannabis one already. Well, if I use a photograph taken by a friend in the field, so it's of landscapes or instruments. Nope. Well, I mean, yeah, it's your friend. We should know that you have her permission or his permission to use it. So yes, just an email. I give you my permission to use my photo. They do that all the time. My friend does photos for book covers, and we've published some things, and we've used one of her photos, and we had to ask her for permission. And she was an author. So yes. The specific ETD copyright workshop being, well, I don't know if there's an ETD copyright workshop. It is an ETD? Okay, I know, yes, we have a copyright workshop on Tuesday, the 16th.
I just checked the website, and I think Elietta must have gone ahead. Yeah, they must have gone ahead and updated it. So yes, there is a workshop being offered on that Tuesday.
Yes, Dr. Kilpatrick in our office runs a lot of professional development opportunities, and she knows, because we talk all the time, that this is a big issue. So yes, we do one copyright workshop every semester. It's not specific to ETD, but it's very applicable to ETD. They may even call it ETD copyright workshop, but it's copyright in general. All right. Did I answer all the questions satisfactorily? I mean, you can re-ask again. Okay, I got it. Okay. I'm happy to answer again. Sometimes it's just hard. I know it's hard to ask a question so that it all makes perfect sense, but. All right. Well, it was so good to, I hate when I can't see you. I'm much more fun in person, but I can't see you. I want to thank you for coming. Please know that we're here to help you. Please know that it is our goal to graduate you. We want to see you be done. We are not trying to offer any obstacles to that pursuit. We really want to help you get done, and we'll do everything that we can to make that happen. So, can I use pictures on the cover page using Adobe Art? As long as they're free images. Again, a lot of the images on the web have copyright attached to them. So I don't know if you definitely need artwork on the cover page. I'll be honest with you. Be simple, simple, simple. Be boring. That's the safest way. No reason for attendance. We got it. When you come in, we got you. Unless you need something for your faculty member, but we have it. Anything else? Well, have a great weekend. Go Bucks. Well, we got some more. If I do not finish my ETD submission before deadline, we already did that. Write down your email address. I'd like to ask you some questions. It's on the last slide. Yep, that grad ETD email at usf.edu. So there you go. That's the email. Anything else? It's going to be warmer tomorrow, so we can look forward to that. All right. Have a great day. Thanks so much for coming, and have a great week.